Yeah, a little bit about us. So we lead the Salt Company Ames. I'm the director. Kendra's associate director. She's been there about 10 years. I've been there about 4 years. And one of the things we think about a lot, I would say we even like obsess about it, is staff health, team culture, that whole concept. And we have some unique opportunities and challenges. Our average year, we send out 50% of our staff. We have 20 people on staff. On an average year, we send out 50% of them, so 10. This year it was 60%. 12 out of 20, which is quite a bit. So there's some cool opportunities and challenges there. What's cool about that is we have it's kind of like a person, I don't want to compare us to a superhero, but here we go. A superhero like collecting superpowers as like new people come around. And so that's how I feel like, man, we have all these we have church planners come through, like they teach us things and charts and graphs and concepts and ideas and traditions. We collect that, but then it's also hard because like, then you're gone. And now so we steward a lot of information and culture. So it's an opportunity and a challenge because we also send out those same people who were a cultural blessing, who brought just a good attitude, a good tone to the team. They're just gone. We send our best people. So the best ones, they're just see ya, 500 miles away, 1,000 miles away. So that's some of our opportunities and challenges. And so we don't feel like we're the experts on this. We are obsessed with it though. So that's why we're talking about it, because we just think about it a lot. We try to make sure that the Salt Company culture is great. For me, coming from the outside, Kendra grew up in Salt Company. I did not. I was a college pastor in Eugene, Oregon for 6 years before I came to Salt Company. The culture of it was one of the most intriguing and magnetic things. The system and the structure was really interesting to me too. It's oh, that's how you do that. I've been wondering how people do it. That was all really helpful. But the culture of fun and friendship and trust, some of the things we'll get to in this list here, that's what was really magnetic and compelling to me. And so we think it's a great use of an hour to talk about it. Yeah, it's not something you can delegate. That's how I feel about it. There's a lot of things inside of Salt Company that I don't do, and I feel great about delegating. Even a lot big responsibilities. Preaching at our main gathering, for example. It's I'm happy to have someone else do that. I do it, but I also like it when other people do it. But culture is one of the things that's the buck kind of stops with us. We have to think about it. We have to dream about it, spend money on it. And there's not a ton of things like that. I mean, there's vision, staffing, culture, and fundraising are we can't really give those away. We have to care for those. We have to, us too, we have to steward those things well. And so there's a lot of reasons why talking about culture is important. One thing I think is helpful So Patrick Lencioni talks about, he's like a leadership guru guy. He talks about cascading communication. Like a healthy organization, there's like decisions made at the top, and they like kind of cascade down like a waterfall going down a mountain. It's like, all right, communication in a healthy organization, communication cascades down. In any organization, healthy or not, culture cascades down. Like it goes down. It's a question of is it good or bad culture that's cascading? Because something's cascading. Something is going from top down. That's not to say it can't go bottom up, but it for sure goes top down. And so we think like the way that you interact with people, wherever you are in the organization, it will affect the people who are organizationally underused. Under sounds weird, but you know what I mean. Like there are org charts and organizations. So those who are under your leadership in some way, your culture is cascading down. Another name, Pete Scazzaro, he writes about emotional health, and he has this phrase I love. He says, you cannot give what you do not possess. So when you're discipling somebody toward emotional and spiritual health, if you're a mess inside and hiding stuff and you're not healthy and you're burnt out, like you can bet that will be, he calls that also secondhand smoke. Like that's going to bleed out. Like that's going to get caught. It's going to be contagious around you. So that's true on an individual level. I think it's also true on a team level that you can't give what you don't possess. So like we think of our staff team of 20 people. We want to give to our students, our student leaders especially, but all of the students in general, a culture of fun and trust and holiness and friendship. We can't give that away if we don't have it. So that's why we spend a lot of time on our staff team trying to cultivate all those things. One quote that's on the board, I haven't explained why yet. I will now. So I love junk food and fast food, and Panda Express is one of those places that's kind of like those. And I saw this on the wall at Panda Express, and it really hit me. You wouldn't think Panda Express has a ministry philosophy. You'd be wrong. I was in this moment where I feel like, man, like my heart really breaks for and goes out to the freshman fringe person who's like not sure what they think about Christ or our ministry. Like I want to help that person, but just organizationally, like they're far from me. Because what's really close to me is like the staff members. Like that's what, so how do I care about both of those things at the same time? They feel like they're kind of in contradiction, but then Panda Express tells me they're not in contradiction. Make happy those who are near, and those who are far will come. And so you could sub out happy for healthy or whatever. But like the point being like, yeah, like one of the best ways for me to reach a lost freshman is actually not to like go hunting on campus for that lost freshman in my job right now, but actually to make sure that like our staff team really like loves each other and has a strong and healthy culture, because that's going to again cascade down to our student leadership team. And our student leaders are actually the best person to reach that freshman. And so in a kind of weird way, like that quote is true, and it put together for me why in my heart I really care about staff health and I really care about that lost freshman. And those actually aren't two different pursuits. I think they actually go together. So there's a lot of reason we could talk about why culture matters. I'll say two more. One, culture works 24/7. Your system only works less than that. I mean, usually systems are more like appointment and calendar driven, but a healthy culture is always working. It's always at work with people everywhere. The other thing, culture is, it's how people feel. And so it's remembered so much longer. Like I know people are going to forget things I preach, things I do, but I just feel like they're not going to forget how they feel around Salt Company. They will remember that feeling when they walked into Salt for the first time and nobody said hi to them. That they will remember. Or if they walk in for the first time and their life's fallen apart and there's a group of people who surrounds them and loves them and invites them to their connection group and prays for them, they'll remember that too. So there's a lot of reasons why culture matters. Those are a few. It's one of those intangible things that's just so helpful. And so what we're going to do is talk through 8 marks of a healthy team culture. And I would say this too. I'm going to do 8 marks of healthy, but here's the thing about health. I think if you pursue high performance, you might get it, but you might not, you probably won't get health. Like if all you're thinking is high performance, I want output, I want numbers, I want whatever, you might get it, but you'll probably sacrifice health along the way. What we have found is if you pursue health, you get both. You get health and you get high performance. You get that it feels great, so people want to be around it. Your staff team or your leadership team is energized for what you're asking them to do. And so I know it's not quite that simple, but as a concept, that's something that convictionally that we try to live by is, okay, yes, we totally want to be high performing, but if that's like the goal, it can lead to unhealth because people will overwork and burn out and a bunch of other things. So pursue health and you'll probably get both. So here's the first mark of a healthy team. It may or may not surprise you, but fun. I'm not saying it's the most important, but it might be. Healthy families have fun together. They know how to cry together. They also know how to laugh together and make memories together. And we want our church and our ministry and our staff team to feel like a family, to be a family. So we want to have fun together. And so there are a lot of different ways to do this. I would say Kendra and I, so we lead Salt Company, and we love to have fun. We don't feel, I can speak for both of us, we are not like the center of fun. It's like everybody gather around me as I tell jokes and stories. That's not how we have fun. That's not how we do it. We delegate fun. We have a lot of young and super energetic and self-forgetful people on our staff team. Those are the ones you want to, you're going to be in charge of fun. And we can invest in it. Say, there's our funnest person on staff right now. I told him a couple weeks ago, I was like, you can spend, you don't have to ask me about spending any less than $200. If it's more than $200, ask me first. But if you have a fun idea and it costs less than $200, just do it. I give that to you. You're anointed as our fun person. So I think fun is really important. So there's a few examples of how we do this. So let me back up, actually. Culture is a collection of language and traditions. That's just what culture is. So it's things you do, things you say. And so I'm going to give you a few examples of what we would call cultural artifacts, just super specific examples of things even if I mentioned it to our staff team, they would know what I'm talking about. And so for fun, we have this thing called the party box, which is a karaoke machine, which if you don't have one, you should have one. $150 on Amazon, and so awesome. When your sound system dies, which ours did on one occasion, actually we lost power because of a crazy hurricane or derecho, it doesn't matter. We lost power. So we have this party box and it saved our lives basically. But it's a thing we carry around. We use it at staff meetings. We use it at leader meetings. We play it in the foyer after Salt Company. But Party Box is just it's not just about the party box. It's like a statement. We're going to have fun. We're going to be a little bit weird and a little bit cheesy, but it's going to be fun. We're going to play music together. There's other ways we have fun too. Even sometimes it's making things that are generally not fun, like fundraising. Maybe you guys love fundraising. I don't. I can tolerate it, but I don't love it. But things we do with that. So we have these call nights each summer where we reach out to a recently graduated alumni and basically ask them for money. And that's not super fun because a lot of them are calling their friends can we get some money? And it's just a little bit awkward. So what we've done is we've done a few things. One, we choose synchronized outfits. So we all wear groutfits when we do it. It's on the phones. They're not seeing us. So it's groutfits, gray sweats. Basically anything gray, primarily gray sweats, but anything gray. It's that'll make it a little more fun. Lots of candy in the office. When somebody says yes to fundraising, we have a siren that we shoot off. It's great. We make it fun. Another thing that's not fun is data entry. At the start of the semester in the fall, we have hundreds of names, 700-800 names of freshmen and other people, new people to Salt. And we got to put them into the system because we want to reach out to them and keep in contact with them. And so entering names and emails and phone numbers is not fun. But what is fun is this thing called bracket racket, where you basically, we draw out a bracket on our whiteboard and for the weirdest names. And if you have a nomination, you put it on there, and then at the end we do this, okay, who had the weirdest name and who entered it gets a prize, whatever. Just have fun, that's just, it's so simple. It costs nothing, but it's a really great way to have fun, and it creates a healthy culture together. One last thing on fun, and then I'll let you talk about the next one. is roasts. If you never get roasted by your team, you should. I feel like this year especially, but over the course of years, like I'm just getting roasted. Maybe it's just 'cause I'm getting older and less cool, but I get roasted by the team. It's awesome. I love it that our staff team, leadership team feels like, yeah, they can totally make fun of me. So I won't labor this too much, but fun is a super important way to make happy those who are near and those who are far will come. Healthy staff teams have fun together. But here's the second one, trust, and Kendra's going to talk. Yeah. Fun, trust, clarity. So when you think of healthy, you might not think of immediately like policies and job descriptions. I don't know, maybe you do. But if you don't, I think you should. Because like hiring and firing, if you want to throw off the staff health, like do a bad hire or a bad fire, maybe even worse. Or give people really bad and unclear job descriptions, or not have any sort of like vacation policy or whatever. Like there's and this is true for staff or student leaders. Knowing what people are getting into is super important for a healthy team. Know where the team is going So like we use Will Mancini's like vision frame, mission, vision, values, marks, like we use that as like, hey, here's where we're going, here's who we are and where we're going. So you got to know where the team is going, and then the people on the team need to know where they fit on the team. So we use the vision frame for that first one. For the second part, for job descriptions, we use this thing called top 10. It's basically just 10. We just simplify a normal job description, which gets signed on the first day and then never looked at again. It's probably how yours is. I don't know. Maybe yours is great. Sorry, I shouldn't assume. A lot of people sign it and they never look at it again. We try to use it as like an ongoing evaluation tool. Like, here's your top 10 tasks and responsibilities. So sometimes it's like a very specific thing, like raise $1,000 a month for Salt Company. Sometimes it's more general, like, hey, like do anything else we ask you to do. Like that's literally one of them. Just need to get that in there. Catch all. But there's a top 10 things of things that we want you to be doing to support the mission of this team. So I think you owe it to people to give them clarity in a variety of different ways, but that's one of the ways that we use is top 10 and then the vision frame. Who's familiar with the vision frame? You guys seen that before? Okay, yeah, so a lot of you. Yeah, really, really helpful. That's one of the things that we use. Yeah. Clarity. We'll take questions here in a few minutes, but let me just move through a couple more things. Honesty. And for this one, I want to draw something for you that has been really helpful for our team. For honesty, you could sub that out for, authenticity. It's that whole concept. We want people to be honest about who they are and what they're going through, and we also want the freedom and have the freedom to be honest with them about what we see. But here's a tool that we've been using for a while at Salt Company. It's called the Repenter Quadrant, and it has to do with how you deal with your sin. So this isn't the only way that we talk about honesty, but it's one way that has caught some traction, both with staff and student leaders. And so when you sin, you've got, y'all know this, you have a couple options of what to do with that. One is to talk about it or not. So we say it's confess or conceal. That's option one. Option two is you can either be apathetic toward it, like do nothing, or you can take action. So you can do nothing or say nothing, or you can say something and do something. So and then we got names for each of these people. And listen, because I might name you. I'm sure I'm going to name all of us at some point here. This person is the hider. Sin really grows quickly in the dark, or even if the sin doesn't grow, the shame about it does and the guilt about it does. So that's the hider. Now, a step up from that, but still not where we want to be, is the fixer. This is the person who has decided, okay, I am going to do something about my sin. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. It's a person who's privately fighting a battle with pornography, and 0 people except Jesus knows about it. We call that person the fixer. We try to remind those people, you'll always be as sick as your secret, so you got to get that secret into the light. You don't have to tell everybody everything, but you do have to tell somebody something. Somebody needs to be walking with you. Somebody needs to know about this. Fixer. And then up here we've got the talker. Got any talkers in the room? Okay, me. Just me. Just me. This is the person who is apathetic toward sin, but is willing to talk about it. These are people who are good at playing the Christian game. They know how to cry about sin, but they don't move away from it. They don't move toward a life of holiness. We call that person the talker. And then in this upper right, we have the repenter. This is where we want to be. This is not just a place we want to visit. This is a place we want to live a life of repentance. In Mark 1:15. Kingdom of God is near. Repent and believe the good news. The verb tense for repent there is present active. It's like keep repenting, keep believing. Keep repenting and believing the good news. And when we talk about confessing, we're not just, we want to say confess your sin quickly. So we use 3 F's, at first, fast, and full. First means your first string sin, not just like your third or fourth string one. It's like, well, there's this major sin in my life. I'll confess the easier one. Go first string. What's the first string sin? Not the backup. First, full, tell the whole story, like, appropriate to the context, but tell the whole story. Like, don't just leave out details. Like, don't make it super vague. Like, oh yeah, I've been kind of struggling with this. Like, when, what did you do? What did you do afterwards? Fast, first, full, and fast. Like, do it quickly. Don't wait 6 weeks before you talk about it. So those are ways we talk about it. And I would say this, a fourth F. First, full, fast, faith. That means don't just confess your sin, confess your faith also. Don't just say, man, I screwed up, like I screwed up, but here's the grace that God is showing me, that I know is true about me. I know that God has forgiven me. I know I'm still his child. I know I'm still in the fam. I did this, and it's not who I am. So you don't just confess the bad stuff. Confess what Christ has done for you and what's good. So that's how we talk about confession. And this is just a helpful tool, and we just ask people. I mean, it's a great tool, like inside of a student discipleship group. It's like, okay, which one? If you're not this, just don't let them pick that one. If you're this, or this, which are you? They're like, oh, I'm a fixer. And it's like, okay, guess you need to confess some stuff then, because you're fighting alone. Or if they're like, oh, I'm a talker, it's like, I guess we need to hold you accountable to something next week, an action step. So it's a helpful discipleship tool that we use both with students and staff to create a culture of honesty and openness and vulnerability and authenticity. My discipleship question that I use most often is, how you doing on a scale of 1 to 10? That's it. Like, that's my discipleship strategy. Just gave it to you. And with that question, it's just like, pop, you should barf out all the stuff. Like, I shouldn't have to ask all specific, like, did you do this on this night? Or what did you, like, and it shouldn't, I don't want to, like you're saying, I don't want to have to think about all the group dynamics that's going on, or like the timing. It's like, I don't have space for that. Like, I have space to, like, how are you doing? And you need to be honest with me right now. Yeah, like it's like for us to tell our staff members, hey, you need to be so honest in your, like, you need to be a repenter. And then if like we're not smoking that, like we're not confessing. We have there's nobody who knows what's going on in my life, and like I'm not taking any action towards sin. That's hypocritical, you know. And we're all hypocrites to some extent. You just got to own that part of it too. But I think that's what he means when he says smoke what you sell. Like just make sure the things. I mean, it's practice what you preach. It's a fresh way of saying. It's a fresh and kind of culturally insensitive way of saying, practice what you preach, you know? Smoke what you sell. So let's move on. Here's another one, history. So I won't take too long on this one, but healthy families know their history, good and bad. Know the roots, know where you came from. So there's a couple really specific ways that we do this one. One is when we have new student leaders or new staff, we like do a walking tour of our church and use that as like a kind of like a hinge to remind us of the different stages our church and ministry has gone through. So we just walk through, it's like in 1994 or 1985 this happened, 1994 this happened, 2010 this happened, 2016 this happened. Those are all really specific dates for our network. So we tell our history as a ministry. And that also leads into the vision of where God is taking us. But there's also, that's like on like a macro history level. On a more micro level is like our Salt Company staff team has this thing called Story Vault. And we do it at least 3 times a year at our staff retreats where we're like, let's just like remember the funniest and weirdest stories of the whole year. And I have a Google Doc official. I'm the official keeper of Story Vault. Probably 100 stories on there. That, you know, there's just like a few sentence descriptions of it, and I can just mention it, and then the staff can like run with it, and we'll have our best storyteller, who we just sent. We'll have him like share the story from his point of view, and it's like a fun and simple way to do something that's actually really meaningful and helpful. To tell the story of like what has happened here, good, bad, ugly, funny, crazy, meaningful conversion stories. So we have this thing called Story Vaults. That's a couple ways that we kind of honor our history. Yep. So we schedule it. We have usually 2 to 3 times a year. Well, we have 3 staff retreats a year. Usually at least 2 of them we do an affirmation circle or encouragement circle. And it's just a small thing that's like a huge thing. And we want to develop a culture of people being honest with each other, not just about like the gross stuff and the bad stuff, like calling people out on stuff. Like that's important too, actually, for a good culture. But that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is like the good stuff. The way we like to talk about it too is we want to tell people what other people are saying behind their back, but the good stuff. Like, hey, here's what people are saying behind your back. You're killing it in your Gospel 101 class, and all the students love that and love you. Like that's what people are saying behind the back, just so you know. So all sorts of behind the back stuff. And occasionally the negative thing, but I'm talking about the positive still. So that's one way that we do affirmation. Last thing, celebration. So I don't know if it's the biggest, but one of the biggest things I learned when I came into Salt Company. I did not build Salt Company. I walked into it, and I'm just trying to make sure it doesn't die on my back. I walked in, I'm like, man, these people celebrate everything. It's like, people's first day, celebrate. People's last day, celebrate. People's birthday, celebrate. Hard day, celebrate. We just were like looking for excuses to like go out and get lunch or buy ice cream or party or dance or whatever. Like so much celebration, and it's so healthy. To celebrate like who people are, how God has made them, important moments in their life, hard moments in their life, to make a point out of it and say like God is doing something here. It's let me say something quick about first days and last days. This is true both for staff and students, student leaders, not even student leaders. First and last days. Okay, you know, like on a plane, probably a lot of you took a plane to get here, or maybe not. Maybe you all drove. We flew. Anyway, it's a long drive. The takeoff and landing accounts for what, like 0.5 or less % of the overall time of the flight. But if you jack up a takeoff or landing, that changes the whole flight. Like if you have a super weird and terrifying takeoff, that whole flight is you're gonna feel off and like, are these pilots, are they alive? Do they know what they're doing? Or if, let's say it was a great flight and in the landing, it's super bumpy, you spill your drink all over yourself, the plane turns out, it's terrifying, it's scary. It's gonna affect the way you look back on that whole 3-hour flight. I think it's very similar when we're talking about HR language would be like orientation, like exit interviews, but like just whatever it is for staff or students, the first and last days are super important. It's like the takeoff and landing. If you have a bad takeoff, it messes up the whole flight. If you have a bad landing, and I'll say this too, you can have a really bumpy 2-hour flight, but if the landing's really nice, it kind of changes the way you look back at that flight. It's like, well, at least we landed okay, you know? And I think for a student leader, they can have a hard couple years as a student leader, which a lot of our student leaders probably have these last couple years. But if we can celebrate them really well in their final days, their final weeks, their final semester, I think if you have a really great landing, honor them, say, we see what you did. God is working through you. Here's the stories, the trail of stories you left behind you. Here's the other students who got baptized because of you. If you can help honor them and celebrate them and give them a free sweatshirt or whatever, it can help them reinterpret the last year and a half. It's okay, yeah, God did do something in that. So we're big fans of takeoffs and landings, making them smooth and great and making sure that we have something to celebrate. There's always something to celebrate. And if you can't find something to celebrate, then keep looking because there is something to celebrate always. And the takeoffs and landings are super important. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of churches haven't been able to do bonuses recently, so in most years we're able to give some kind of bonus to our staff. Our first and second year staff don't make much, and so $1,000 bonus at the end of the year is great. That's a big win to have that. A decision I often make for them, right or wrong, is like, how about instead of just giving you $1,000 to put into the black hole of savings, I'm gonna give you $800 and $200. We're going to do the shopping spree preaching outfit thing. And you don't know that I could have just given you that $200. I'll just keep that information from you. But I know long term, it actually, it's better. It is better that I'm $800 you're getting. $200 we're going to splurge. I'm going to do the splurging for you. And if I... A memory that makes something. Yeah, and so... I'm not saying that's what everybody should do, and I know not every church gives bonus. I'm just saying those are the kinds of decisions, intentional decisions that we make to spend less on certain things. I mean, occasionally it's even making okay, we could hire that person, but that would push our budget a little bit. And so actually we're not going to hire this, 21st staff member, which sounds crazy, sorry. We have a large staff team, about 20 people. Instead of hiring just one more person, let's set aside a little more money to actually, kind of like a fun account, like a culture account, where we can go out to lunch occasionally. We can do a great end of year staff retreat. Culture does cost time and energy and money, and like you said, there's ways to do it for free, but sometimes it is fun to spend money on it too. So those are all things we think about. I would love to open it up for questions. There's a little bit more I could say, but I'm just going to stop for a couple minutes. We're going to be done in 5 minutes. Let's just say that. 5 minutes, and we'll be done. Any questions you guys have about anything we've said so far? Yeah.
So with a culture and just a system of sending a lot of people, how do you balance the freedom to make mistakes with also the pressure of okay, they know I'm going to be sent out from here. I need to be impressive. I need to show that I'm doing this good work. How do you encourage them to be honest, but then also work through some of the competitiveness they might feel?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like a hobby horse for us. There's a lot we could say. But one thing I will say is that, can you rejoice when your fruit grows on other people's trees? Maybe you've heard that before. We have a language around it. We just talk about it. It's you better rejoice, or we're going to call it out. We have another thing we talk about a lot is just like the way that Jonathan and Saul responded differently to David in the Bible. 1 Samuel 17, everybody knows David defeats Goliath. 1 Samuel 18, Jonathan gives away, he's like next up king, apparently, but then not. Gives away his armor and his sword and his belt, and he gives it all to David. And just as like a symbolic thing, he was like, dude, I'm behind you. Like, so we talk about Jonathaning people. Like, I'm going to be your Jonathan. I'm just going to lift you. I'm going to give away my stuff, my best stuff, my encouragement. Like, you take my spot. I'm going to lift you up. That's what gets celebrated where we are. And I try to model that as best I can. So then other people want to model that. Whereas, Saul, he's like basically immediately trying to kill David. And he's so mad that, the 1,000 versus 10,000 thing, David or Saul has killed his thousands, David is 10,000. He's like, I can't believe the women are even singing about it. It's like this crazy scenario. And so we try to make Saul look really bad, which I think the Bible is trying to do, make him look really gross. And to make Jonathan look beautiful. Like, dude, Jonathan, we want Jonathans. God gets to choose whether you're David or not, whether you become this anointed leader it's like, I don't know if that's going to be me or not, or you, but I know we're all called to be Jonathans, to lift up other people around. So we have language around it too. Again, you mentioned storytelling earlier. Bible storytelling, just giving people ways to think about it and to realize they're not the first. Like, just join the crowd of Jonathans who have been tempted to be comparison mentality, envy, but instead chose to be Jonathan and lift people up.
Question. And I don't know if y'all have any ideas or strategies around this, but like I feel like our leadership team, well, not even just our leadership team, I feel like we're just like our interns. We have like 7 right now. Yeah. And like I feel like we're scheduling with them is like so hard because like I tried to like get together and be like, at the end of the year I want to do this, and like take you out to eat or let's go do it. And like, I can't. And I'm like, it's so hard to like celebrate. And like, do y'all have any strategies around like how y'all try to get scheduling right? Or?
Yeah, you got to I would say get ahead of it. Like, our staff knows like early, we're like, here's some no-fly zone dates. Like it's required. Like you are at the thing where we're going to have fun. It is required fun. But just getting ahead of it, like before they sign to be an intern, it's like, hey, just so you know, here's the things. It's once a week here, once a month this, once a semester, there's a day or night away or whatever it is. You just get them committed to it early is one way to do it. Because, that'd be a bummer if our staff was like, I'm not going to go to staff retreat. It's like, you're fired. Not really, but it's so important. It's like almost like that has to be such a high priority. That's like where we, accomplish a lot of these things. So
it sounds like you have things planned really far in advance. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, which is not my instinct.
Do you have things planned?
Yeah, no, I'm better than I say I am. But like, it's not my instinct. But especially stepping into a larger ministry, I've had to learn how to do that, to like think all the way out until August and then December and then next staff retreat. And yeah.
How do you enact some of these? So I look at these 8 and I look at, okay, I could do this with my college team, but I'm also on church staff. Mm-hmm. I'm the college minister. A lot of us are college ministers. We're the low men on the totem pole. So you look at these 8 and you're like, okay, we only do this as a church staff. So how do you go about, what would you say about enacting this from the second chair?
Ooh, nice. Second chair leadership. It's great. Jonathan Maxwell has some really good stuff on this. John Maxwell, 360-degree leader, really great. The question isn't like, how do I lead up? The question is like, how do I add value here? One thing I do, this is super practical and random, but I'm in a meeting I don't lead, that it's like that, like we're part of a director team, and I just bring donuts. Nobody asked me to. I'm just like, I'm bringing donuts, and everybody loves it. Talk about a quick way to make some friends, bring donuts. But there's things that, and you're not trying to like do some takeover of the whole meeting. Just like, I just want to add value here. Yeah, Andy Stanley says, culture isn't just, I think it's him, he says, culture isn't just what you create, it's also what you allow. And so that's kind of what you're asking too. It's like, I think there's a few things. Like, Kendra's a very high discernment person. Her radar is very high for like something's off, So that's one of the ways she serves our team is to like, kind of like sniff out like, there's a problem over there, And so then we like heat-seeking missile, pursue that. So that's part of it, I think having high discernment people around you to help, like, I think something's off over there. And then, like, let's go problem solve and figure that out. I do think it's the whole, like, firing that got asked in our last breakout, too. I think hiring and firing is for sure a part of healthy culture. Like, if you don't have any thoughts about hiring or firing, like, you'll have a bad culture. Because you can do firing in a really bad way that sets off, it puts everybody on their heels wondering if they're next, or it was their best friend, so now they're mad about it. Probably don't have time to get into all of it right now, but I do think, one of the principles is like hire slow, fire quick. Also fire like gently. Like, I don't even like using the word fire. I know I joked about it earlier, but like we talk about people, we try to help people find their best spot, and sometimes it's not like, I just don't think this, either whether it's a culture or chemistry or competency or capacity thing, I don't know if this is your best fit. Like and we're so committed to helping people find their best fit that we're willing to have that hard conversation of like, I don't even think it's on this team anymore. Good and clear policies is a big part of staff health. Yeah. Policies on annual reviews, biannual reviews. Evaluations like job descriptions, onboarding, offboarding, like exit interviews. All that stuff sounds like corporate. It's actually just healthy.
Well,
like,
it's wrapped up in what you already said.
Yeah.
In there already.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes churches give themselves a pass on like normal, just like organizational patterns. Like corporations do that because it's good, like it's proven and it works and it's helpful. So we can learn some things from Chick-fil-A or whoever else you're talking about. Like they do some things really well, obviously, a number of things really well. And so, yeah, we try to learn from a lot of different people in that too. Okay, I said 5 minutes. It's been like 15, so I will let you all go, catch your breath, because I think there's something else starting at 4. For some people, at least, the affinity group. So thanks, guys.